Finally, summertime. Survival horror truly has gone a long way, especially the Resident Evil series. From the PS1 and Dreamcast, to the Wii and PS3, and now the PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and Nintendo Switch 2. I mean, what can I really truly say about Resident Evil? It's been going on since like the mid-90s to up till now, with the release of Resident Evil Requiem. I did want to talk about Requiem for a while, but I never got to get a copy because at that time, it was like, if I didn't pre-order it at least a weekend after release, there was just no copies anywhere. So, big sad. I mean, alongside with that, the near Silent Hill, but I think around like what, 2010s to, or early 2010s to early 2020s, there were no Silent Hill games. I mean, I don't know when the Silent Hill demo that basically, if I'm correct, spread the Silent Hill effects everywhere else throughout the world because of the internet or some shit. I think that's how that goes. I don't know, man. At least with Resident Evil, it was still continuous. Man. The starter of survival horror. I mean, I like it. I think I got introduced to it with the remakes and PS4 with Resident Evil Origins. I think it was like a 2-pack. The first remake and 0. So, yeah. I do want to check out the old games, the classics, and I'm not gonna lie, I had one hell of a great time with it. Resident Evil 1 Director's Cut, released in 1997, is an absolute classic third-person survival horror game starring Jill Valentine and Chris Redfield. Development for this game is pretty crazy. The OG Resident Evil released in 1996, but the devs now focused on producing a sequel which was slated for a March 1997 release. However, producers Shinji Mikami and director Hideki Kamiya scrapped that version of Resi 2 in early 97 with what's now known as Resident Evil 1.5. It was nearly completed, nearly 70% complete actually. Apparent reason for the scrapping and restart being that the initial RE2 felt boring and lacking personality. Of course, they realized that they wouldn't meet their deadline in time, thus leading to the action of repackaging the first installment. To ensure fans would actually buy something that they already owned, Capcom tasked the team with creating a version that would generally surprise veterans, mainly by subverting the player's muscle memories. Items, keys, and enemies were shuffled to completely different rooms. Camera angles were altered in major rooms, outfits were changed, and certain corpses would now reanimate and attack when checked. Capcom even repackaged the Director's Cut with a highly sought-after playable disc demo of the rewritten Resident Evil 2. For the North American and European releases, they promised that the Director's Cut will include an uncensored version of the intro, a live-action black and white intro FMV which showed Gore and Chris, one of the playable characters, smoking a cigarette. Upon release, however, the intro was still censored. According to Capcom, this was a localization oversight and a mistake by the development team who accidentally pulled the censored Western assets instead of the raw Japanese files. To compensate, they offered the uncensored intro as a free download on their own website. That wasn't the only thing missing as the English versions didn't have auto-aim. Thankfully, this did get added back in the Director's Cut. Earlier I stated that the producer is Shinji Mikami and the director is Hideki Kamiya. I also want to highlight the producers, or not the producers, the composers. There's 3 technically, but one of them did data conversion for the music, so I'm not going to really mention them. So one of them is Masumi Ueda. You might know them from making music for Okami, which, damn, it's a beautiful game. I do want to cover that someday. I also believe he also made music for the Beautiful Joe series and other Resident Evil stuff as well. The other one is Makoto Tomozawa. If I'm correct, he also did some music for Street Fighter, or at least the earlier Street Fighter series, so yeah, pretty good lineup. I gotta say, I like the music, but I'll get into that later. So, I think it's high time we get into the game. It's a shame that I don't have a physical copy of this game. On the positive side, this and the original trilogy were all cheap, costing $9.99, at least online each. I could track down a physical copy, but I don't have the money for it. Also, I am of course playing this on PS5 for those interested. My first PS5 game I am playing on this channel. Technically, yeah.
Lock hit breaking news, folks. The state of Florida. This is kind of weird. What do Aaron Brockovich and data centers have in
Alright, interesting intro. Nonetheless, the menu is pretty simple. A new game and a load game. Loading the game brings up 2 memory card slots to choose a previous save from. New game brings up 3 difficulties. Standard, training, and advanced. If it's in Japan, it's probably going to be called a range. From there you can pick from 2 different characters, Chris Redfield, a tactical marksman, and Jill Valentine, breaking and entering BNE specialist. Both are part of the STARS Alpha team. They're also accompanied by Barry Burton, backup man, Joseph Frost, firearm specialist / service technician, and Albert Wesker, team captain. Brad Vickers is also part of the team. He delivered them there, though he isn't that prominent in the story.
Alpha Team is flying around the forest zone situated in northwest Raccoon City, where we're searching for the helicopter of our compatriots Bravo Team, who disappeared during the middle of our mission. No, I haven't found it yet. Bizarre murder cases have recently occurred in Raccoon City. There are outlandish reports of families being attacked by a group of about 10 people. Victims were apparently eaten. Bravo Team went to the hideout of the group and disappeared.
Look, Chris!
It was Bravo Team's helicopter. Nobody was in it. But strangely, most of the equipment was still there. However, we soon discovered why.
Hey! Come here! No! Don't go! Jill, run for that house!
Chris Redfield. Jill Valentine. Barry Burton. Rebecca Chambers. Albert Wesker. Resident Evil.
STARS Alpha Team is dispatched to investigate a series of bizarre murders that occur in the outskirts of Raccoon City, deep within the Arklay Mountains specifically. Bravo Team was actually deployed here to investigate, but they haven't made contact in a long time. Once landing, it doesn't take long for the unit to be attacked and chased into a seemingly safe building, the Spencer Mansion. You gotta love the flavor text. Starting the game truly, it starts with whoever is picked. The characters in the first endgame cutscene also depend on whoever you picked at the start of the game too. From the start of the game, the differences between these two campaigns are blatant. With Jill, Wesker and Barry are present along with her, but Chris is missing. When you pick Chris, Jill and Wesker are present along with him, but Barry is missing. Both have certain partners and scenarios dealing with said partners. Jill will encounter Barry while Chris will encounter Rebecca, a Stars Bravo team member. Events between these characters will vary differently depending on who you're playing as. In terms of difficulty, Jill's campaign is much easier than Chris's as she starts off with her bread and carbide knife off the start. She has 8 inventory slots. She is given a lockpick, which takes no slots. Her special utility item, as she is the master of unlocking, even has a special weapon exclusive to her campaign, the grenade launcher, and it has a high crit rate. Meanwhile, Chris starts with a knife but can find Jill's Beretta pretty quickly. He has 6 inventory slots, has a lighter for the special utility item, which does take up a slot, doesn't really have a special weapon until the second to last area of the game, a flamethrower. He has to find more keys to unlock doors within the mansion as well. On the upside, Chris has higher max health, running faster speed, and a higher physical defense. Nonetheless, with these two characters we do our best to survive and along the way, and cover what has happened leading up to now, getting hints of a humongous scandal. Controls are pretty simple. Up on the D-pad goes forward, you can turn with the left or right on the D-pad. Back on said D-pad makes your character walk back slowly, enough to dodge an attack or just turn around and bail. Moving can be achieved with the left joystick, but it felt too sensitive for my taste. Face buttons don't really do much on their own with the exception of holding square, which makes you run whenever you move, and pressing X, which allows you to interact with your environment, whether it's to check objects, pick up items, go through doors, etc, etc. Holding R1 readies your character to attack. R1 plus X shoots or swipes depending on your weapon equipped at the moment. You can turn left or right as well, and up and down with the D-pad or left joystick. The gamepad brings up the inventory screen. Here you can inspect, combine, or use items. Health, notes, maps, and equipped weapons can be viewed here. X is to interact overall here. Pressing toggle goes back once while pressing pad again goes back to the overworld. There's also an additional PS5 menu, at least for specifically saving. With the options menu, you can either rewind to certain frames just in case you messed up somewhere and you don't want to load a quick save. You can also load and save anything so that you don't have to waste in-game resources or whatever. Though some might call this cheating because, this is outside of the game. Though I use this a lot and of course I didn't really technically save within the game. I did save in the PS5, so there's that. The controls overall are pretty nice. I got used to them pretty quickly. I think the stick is just a little too fast, like it doesn't input as fast as I wanted to whenever I move, so I just stuck with the D-pad. And hey, I just can feel like the weight of the character. And it's kind of hard to dodge enemies, but if I did pull it off, I did feel some relief because, I didn't waste any bullets on him. Though I might have to deal with them later, so trade-off, All the enemies you face here are what are called biological weapons or simply BOWs. All undead creatures infected by the T virus, a creation of the Umbrella Corporation. From zombies, infected dogs called Cerberus, hunters, which are animal, human mutants, web spinners, the big infected spiders, Neptunes, infected sharks, which you'll encounter once, chimeras, infected humans with spliced spider DNA, good threats that can be dispatched with your firepower. Other enemies, like the crows, bees, adders, a type of viper snake, and baby spiders are either non-threats to run past or easily killable yet a waste of ammo to expand on. Bosses can be counted on one hand. We have Yawn, Plant 42, Black Tiger, and Tyrant. You encounter Yawn twice in each scenario. First time, you need to only get an item to progress to another area, essentially being a nuisance. Second time, he creates a way to the basement and you have to kill him off there, as the rounds work well against him. Once you enter the residence, you need to cover a hole in the first hallway so that the boss, Plant 42, can't whip you. With Plant 42, you can create a concoction called V-Jolt, which will weaken it, though how you can do that varies between Jill and Chris. Flame rounds works wonders here, though I noticed that if you can go behind it, the plant wouldn't really attack, with only chunks of the ceiling falling on your position, essentially being a threat. Black Tiger is the name of the biggest spider boss in the underground section, essentially the biggest spider in the game. It is akin to fighting the regular web spinners, and like them, upon death, they will release baby spiders. You can walk over them to kill them, but they can swarm you quickly, so it's best to exit and re-enter the room, which will despawn the body as well as the baby spiders. Flamethrower works well if you get up close, but depending on your ammo, I'd use the flame rounds instead. The Tyrant, T-002, the apparent ultimate bioorganic weapon, BOW, and the final boss of this game. This final boss is encountered twice in both scenarios. First time, it's not too bad, though apparently Barry can die here if you're not fast enough to put him down. Second time around, he bursts a hole in the roof, climbing up to confront us and seemingly mutated. He's faster, but he's still easy to dodge. The Python and the acid rounds are best against him. They're all pretty cool to fight, with the exceptions being Yawn, as the arenas that you fight him within are pretty cramped, and thus making evading a pain, especially with the camera angles hiding the big snake along with adrenaline making me rush my tank controls. Not the best situation. He can also poison you, which sucks ass. Other exception is the Hunter. They're regular enemies, they can execute their attacks pretty fast, usually stunning the player with 2 attacks that I can't really do anything other than bear it and hope that I'm not low in health. If your health isn't cautioned, there's a chance that the Hunters can actually insta-kill you, but if you're on fine health, then you won't be insta-killed, but the damage is still devastating. Other than that, the designs overall, they look cool. I also do like their attack animations as well. Essentially, if you're prepared, I mean, it's not going to be that bad of a fight to go against. Hell, sometimes you can even avoid them just depending on where they are and where you are and how big the room is, how much space you have. Gameplay is pretty timeless, even with its tank controls. Mainly we explore, take out whatever BOWs are present, then explore again. It's a simple game loop, but I absolutely love it. Zombies are somewhat slow, but resilient nonetheless, taking a fair amount of damage before it goes down. Gotta watch out for those fallen zombies as well. If they fall and started bleeding, it's alright, they're actually dead. They've fallen but you don't see blood, they gotta be alive. Get too close to their face and they'll chew a bit of your ankles and even taking a bit of your health as well. Though the animation will end with Jill or Chris stomping or kicking the zombie head. I mainly back up as soon as they fall and maneuver myself to their sides or even behind them, swiping down with my knife as soon as they fall since they will get back up. Don't want to waste my ammo there. There were some areas that were big enough that I just outmaneuvered them, as they didn't really serve that much of a threat there. Mainly the room above the dining room and the hallway on the left side of the mansion, close to the safe room with medical supplies. From my experience in training and standard, regular zombies go down around 3 shots from my Beretta. Backtracking is also part and parcel, as I did also experience the need to head back to certain rooms, mainly safe rooms, especially as Chris, just to save free space, then retrace my steps to collect an important item or some important ammo. The layout of the Spencer Mansion is pretty easy to remember. Sure, some hallways seem similar, however the amount of doors lining the walls, the way they're shaped, keeps it unique, while majority of the rooms generally have a different layout and camera angles that usually show a great or fair amount of what is within the room, with unique types of furniture that put it in a certain way or are featured in 1 or 2 rooms, making it feel unique. There's also some times where like the walls are looking a little bit different, so you can actually tell where you are. And if I do hear or see an enemy, knowing that aiming will automatically target their direction makes engaging a lot less cumbersome than it could have been. Once I dealt with the threats within the general area, that's when I'd start to truly explore and see where the keys I collected go, essentially boiling down to taking care of the enemies, searching and finding important items, then exploring where you can use said items, where there's actual keys or items that act as keys, opening up new areas to explore or even just acting as shortcuts, maybe even picking up notes to get an insight on what happened here. Man, the notes are pretty cool here. They either give a general day-by-day synopsis of what is happening at the mansion, a hint on what to check out in order to progress, instructions on how to do a puzzle, or even info on an upcoming boss. Everybody knows the itchy tasty note. The devolution of a scientist that somehow got infected by the virus that can't even write a full sentence by the end of his entries. Personally, the Plant 42 report is my favorite. Results of a plant infused with the T-virus gone out of control, eating some of the poor scientists. It's pretty rad. Sure, it's not like the tasty itchy note, that particular enemy, or even the T-virus. It's a report, seeing how they created it or even what it does. I think that's pretty cool. Areas within the mansion truly are distinct, from the mansion itself to the residence. From the lab under their residence to the main laboratory near the end of the game. Progression of getting all rooms that can be unlocked, then getting a new key to re-explore once again is satisfying. Seeing what items were locked behind these doors or what can possibly be used for a reward somewhere else. Music is the butter while the areas are the bread, blending well to create a pretty intense atmosphere when needed with a calm yet lingering sense of danger. It's not sparse nor is it overused. The 90s synthwork, stark piano arrangements, and jarring industrial tones. The silence and quiet humming is great in showing restraint. The score here is an absolute masterclass in ambient horror. You don't need to have a grand orchestra to unsettle the player. Some rooms are just plainly quiet too. Weapons are not plentiful but are still enough and somewhat varies between Jill's and Chris's experience. Both have a Beretta, shotgun, combat knife, and magnum, which is the Colt Python. Jill's exclusive weapon is a grenade launcher that has interchangeable ammo, that being explosive, acid, and incendiary rounds. You'll need to find a launcher on the balcony by Force Briar's corpse, out on the Terran's balcony, and if you're on the hard difficulty, you'll also reanimate. Ammo can be found scattered throughout the game. Be wary, as once you put one type of ammo into the launcher, you can't change it to another until you've expelled it all. Chris doesn't really have one, but can use a particular weapon only in his campaign within the underground area, that being the flamethrower. There's no additional ammo, as once you used it all, that's it. The ammo counter is the only one in the game that has a percentage counter, and once, like I said, it's done, and you can only use it as a key to go back and forth through certain rooms within the underground area. I've used the Beretta to take down zombies and the knife to check if they're still alive or finish them if they aren't. Shotguns are pretty nice, especially to explode zombies' heads off. Wait till they get close, aim up, then shoot once the head is close. It's just such a satisfying animation to witness. They do work against the Cerberus as well. Pistol works fine there too though. However, they aren't the best against hunters. Sure, they do take massive damage, but the range isn't the best. Shotties are alright against bosses and even Neptunes, even with how few there are in the game. Grenade launchers are pretty OP, as if you pair them with the right enemy, they'll do more damage. Explosive is the most common, and they're the best against hunters, zombies, and chimeras. Acid is the rarest, but are effective against the bosses Yawn and Tyrant, and can more than likely insta-kill hunters. Flame, they're around the middle, they're uncommon, but they're effective against bosses Plant 42 and the Black Tiger. The Magnum is OP as well, but of course to compensate, ammo is much more scarce than ammo overall. The amount of weapons here hits the Goldlock zone. Just enough tools to eliminate BOWs, giving me a great sense of progression of how I can dispatch my threats, as well as how far I could have personally gone from my lowly Beretta and combat knife to a grenade launcher and a Colt Python. Puzzles here are pretty simple. I think the only one that stumped me for a little bit was an environmental one near the end of the game at the laboratory. They usually get solved in like 2-4 actions, maybe in 5-6. Whether it's moving some steps, then turning off the lights, moving statues to cover up some gas vents so that when you press a button, the room can't be filled with gas. I'd say I like the painting puzzle the most, pressing buttons in order from a newborn male progressing to an elderly man and then eventually ending with death. The resonance puzzle within the log pad barring you from the potion room is interesting too, the hint being my favorite out of the hints in general. There's 3 bowler bars in a separate room in resonance, and you see the 3 ball, the 6 ball, and the 9 ball, and 2 billiard sticks laid out in a certain way. It got me thinking, what did that remind me of? And then looking at it, I just realized that it's akin to a 3 clock. 3 being the minute 15, 6 being minute 30, and 9 being minute 45. It's a 3-digit code for the lock pad. The Eureka moment is so special too, though you can also brute force this particular puzzle, so whatever. Let's talk about the difficulties now. Standard is the normal mode, but just slightly easier than the original. It features 3 increments per save and slightly weaker enemies too with more player health. Training is the easy/casual mode, significantly reducing difficulty. Weapon damage being significantly increased and doubles the amount of ammo and increments found within the game, mainly for newcomers. Advanced is the most challenging difficulty. In other regions, I think only in Japan, maybe even other Asian areas, it's called a range. I don't know why. But yeah, advanced is the most challenging difficulty. Essential key items, puzzle pieces, and some enemies are moved to entirely different rooms. Powerful enemies spawn much earlier in the game as well. Zombies are faster, and some rooms feature tighter, claustrophobic camera angles to hide those possible threats. Enemy health and damage output has increased, with ammo being a lot more scarce. Interestingly enough, Beretta has a random chance to trigger a critical headshot, popping a zombie's head in 1 to 5 shots. And completing the modes with the best ending rewards you with an infinite ammo magnum. Intended for veteran players. Personally, I started this game with the training mode as a way to acclimatize myself to this game, then moving on to standard as soon as I finished both campaigns. The difference between them are absolutely night and day. Small things that I like generally. The partner interactions, while sparse, were pretty enjoyable. Barry rescues or supplies Jill with ammo and health items, even going with her to investigate the dining room when you first have control in-game. And there's even a choice for Barry to go ahead without waiting for him in a certain part of the mansion. Rebecca is more of a distressed damsel with Chris, needing to be saved at least once. Twice, depending on what choice you made with her when the first time you meet her. Yeah, this is like the few times in which you can choose what Rebecca can do in Chris's campaign. The Bravo member asks you if she can tag along with you. If yes, she can heal you a limited amount of times later in the story, and you can even play as her twice to help Chris in certain predicaments. The ammo is limited with her, and she only has her Beretta. If you choose no, she won't heal you, you'll face a harder version of Plan 42 boss as well. And not only that, there is something similar with Barry, but you never play as him, which sucks. Both of these partners can die as well if you pick the wrong choices too. The voice acting too. It is campy, appalling, and just downright hilarious at times.
Joseph! Whoa! What is it?
What? Oh no! Sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
Stop it! Don't open that door!
But Chris is...
Albert Wesker is a pretty cool antagonist, though you don't really see anything blatantly evil until the end of the game. Sure, he's not much of a physical threat here, as he's human and doesn't even fight you, but you do see incriminating notes within the lab. I also really like the small detail of zombies' limbs falling off when you shoot them. One thing of note as well, it pays to repeatedly check an area multiple times, as there is a possibility that you can find supplies to help along with your survival, like checking a certain body and then investigating multiple times only to find ammo. It's just how it was back then. The healing system too, I think it's pretty neat. Mostly you can only heal with either herbs or first aid sprays that you find. With the first aid sprays, you can only find them around the mansion and they're pretty sparse. Using them you can be healed up to full health, so be careful when you use it. Now with the herbs, you have 3 different ones. Green, which only heals, and is pretty limited in how much it can heal. Red, it's only an enhancer, you can't use it alone. You can use it with the green herb, but you can't use it with the blue herb if I'm correct. And then there's the blue herb, which only heals poison. So if you use a blue herb, poison, that's only going to take care of that. It won't heal up your general health. Now the best thing about this is that you can combine all these herbs. If you want to max out your health, the best way to do it is either a red and green herb, or if you only have green herbs, a combination of 3 of them will heal you fully. So either red or green, or triple 3 herb combination will heal you to full. There's also green and blue, which heals you as well as heals your poison status if you are poisoned. And of course, the green, blue, and red combination, which heals you to max health as well as heals your poisoning if you are poisoned. Overall, I kinda like this system. I think it's simple and it's pretty neat. I'm not gonna lie, I also do like how the inventory screen is like, especially with the items. It's like it getting tossed to you and getting tossed back. The way it tumbles too is kind of funny to me too. Hopefully they continue this in 2 and 3. I don't think they did in Code Veronica though. The animation and sound effects, for how simple they are, I kinda like it. I'm not gonna lie, I can't believe I forgot about it, but the announcer at the beginning of the game, before you actually begin the game actually, Resident Evil. It's just beautiful. Announcing the full title is a tradition that they mainly do for most of the games. There are some exceptions. Code Veronica is definitely one of them. I think even Revelations, the Revelation series, or at least Revelations 2. One thing I criticize is the fact that for most of the time within the mansion, I barely saw anything outside of zombies, Cerberus, and hunters. Even after exploring an area like the residence and coming back to the main mansion area, I just didn't see any new stuff other than the hunters, but even then, there weren't even new placement of zombies. I kind of wish that there were some web spinners or some adders somewhere within the patios, or maybe outside areas of the mansion, like within the house, maybe even some crows near the entrance of the lab. I think that would have been nice. Overall, I just don't think they use the enemies enough, though wherever they are, I think they're still fine where they are. Alright, even though this game is like from the 90s, I'm still having a damn good time with it, so I'd say this is a timeless classic, but I think it's time we go into the story. So, skip here if you don't want to get into it. It shouldn't be too long. It's not like the Uncharted games where it's a big convoluted story, or at least convoluted to retell. There's some bits here that might get convoluted, at least with the story in Resident Evil Director's Cut. However, it should be still short, so yeah. If you want to play this, or you just want to watch someone play it, timestamp here to skip, and I will get into it in 3, 2, 1, let's go. Right on. Plot time. Let's go. So of course, if you remember, the STARS team are there to investigate what happened with the STARS Bravo team, who were investigating a series of murders within Raccoon City, specifically Darkley Mountains. This whole game takes place within the Spencer mansion, and it has like 3 or 4 main areas. The mansion itself, which is like the most time you're going to be spending, the residence, I guess you can include the lab if you want to, the underground area, and then finally the laboratory itself, the main lab where the T-virus is created. Now, who you're stuck with in the mansion depends entirely who you picked as Jill or Chris. Nonetheless, it's kind of similar. The only difference is the fact that some of the character cutscenes are absolutely different. I mean, Jill, of course, deals with Barry, while Chris deals with Rebecca. There's also some cutscenes with Chris, which, from what I can tell, somewhat play the same, with the exception near the end. Nonetheless, whoever you pick, it's essentially the same. The mansion itself is crawling with various zombies and other BOWs. We do find some remnants of the Bravo team, either already dead or injured, only to die later on. We also, of course, uncover some various notes throughout the mansion too, essentially revealing the various nefarious deeds within this mansion. Essentially being a front for the underground lab that's owned by the Umbrella Corporation, a massive pharmaceutical giant within this universe. And of course, the main thing that was being developed here was the T-virus. Once we head into an underground laboratory beneath the mansion, we discovered that Albert Wesker was actually a double agent working for Umbrella. He deliberately lured STARS to the mansion to use his own elite officers as combat data to test out these BOWs, essentially seeing how well said BOWs formed against trained professionals. And near the end, he shows off his ultimate bioweapon, the Tyrant T-002, a giant clawed super soldier. However, the Tyrant in general will just kill Wesker, which is it's very funny in my opinion. He also, if you're with Jill, he also bitch slaps Barry. You defeat the Tyrant, and once he is down, seemingly, the self-destruct sequence is activated. This is to destroy the virus. And now we have to race to escape. There's also a side objective that I nearly forgot to talk about. There's these things called modisks. There's 3 within the mansion, 1 somewhere within the mansion itself, 1 in the underground section, and 1 within the lab. Get all 3, find their respective terminal, and then you get a passcode that you can input to start a holding cell that's holding whoever partner that you're not playing as. And that's how you essentially get the best ending. If you don't do that, you don't get said best ending. I don't even think it's called a bad ending. I think that's just a normal ending. Also, I do like how the passcodes have biblical passages. Pretty interesting. Nonetheless, once you rescue him and the self-destruct sequence is activated, you have to go to the helipad, which is in the top of the lab. However, we have to do it ourselves because once we take the elevator to the helipad, there's a lot of zombies that are essentially outnumbering us, but our partners stay behind to quell them at the very least. And once we're there, of course, Tyrant bursts through. He's mutated a little bit. He's a little bit faster, but like I said, you can still dodge him. I think it's not too bad. I mean, you have a lot more room as compared to the testing area that he was in, the Tyrant was in. Do enough damage, you go to the second phase, which is essentially Brad dropping a rocket launcher. And I think depending on the difficulty, at least on standard and training, I'm pretty sure it just only takes 1 hit with the rocket to kill the Tyrant. I know there is a possibility that the Tyrant might deflect said rocket with his claws, though I think that's more prone to happen in the advanced difficulty. However, if it connects, he explodes, job done, everyone escapes. Self-destruction goes off and the mansion explodes. And of course, if you save your partner, you get the best ending. Yeah, straight, simple, to the point. Simplicity is sometimes better. Of course, there's also bonuses, especially if you get the best ending in each game. If you only get the standard ending, you don't get anything. So in general, if you complete standard or training with the best ending, you get the closet key upon loading the next cleared save data. Once you find a room, you can find 1 piece of clothing that can put on, and you'll stay with that costume throughout the end of the game. Second bonus is unlimited Colt Python. Once you finish advanced mode with the best ending, load up your save file and you'll get said unlimited Magnum. Then finally, we have the unlimited rocket launcher. Now you can complete this in any mode, but you have to complete it with the best ending under 3 hours. Pretty interesting conditions, but hey, there's that. So yeah, that right there is the story. I'm not gonna lie, I did play this version of the game as the GameCube remake. I mean, if you know about that, you know about that. I also played Deadly Silence emulated, but still nonetheless I still got that experience. It's my first time at least playing this particular version, so I'm not gonna lie, even with all that, it's still somewhat familiar, but I still liked it. And yeah, playing this game or playing the remake really got me into Resident Evil. And it's interesting that I got that game at the same time as Danganronpa, which is a pretty interesting fun fact, I guess. I'm not gonna lie, I do feel like I want to get the OGs physically. However, of course, like I said, I'm kind of poor right now. Thankfully I did get a second job, which will help me supplement payments for other stuff. So I don't know, maybe I will get some physical stuff later. However, when it comes to the original trilogy, I'll definitely be playing them digitally on my PS5. So there's that. Nonetheless, I like the music, I like the gameplay, even the atmosphere, even with how comfortable you get after you take out the enemies that you want to take care of. It's pretty nice, I'm not gonna lie. The puzzle's pretty cool, a little simple until the end, but nonetheless, it's not too bad. It's not too complicated, it's not too simplistic. The characters, Jill, Chris, they're pretty, one can say one note, but at the same time, it's like their first outing, and it's the 90s. What really kind of helps it is the voice acting, of course, which, yeah, I absolutely love. And yeah, positive ratings overall. I do want to check out the second game sometime. I mean, I already have it. I might be playing that one next, reviewing it too. But yeah. Of course, the World Cup's still going on. I have no idea what I want to do as a vehicle, and for the semi-quintessential, like the 250 years of the US existing, I kind of want to do an event. I mean, I'm pretty sure you saw the intro of this video. Yeah, I'll see what I'll do. I do want to do a fair amount of American stuff, you know, like games, vehicles, maybe firearms, even though my macro one got kind of fucked. I don't know. Nonetheless, next game will probably be, or more than likely will be, the original Resident Evil 2. Apparently that one's easier, which is interesting. And yeah, if you have the money, check out the first game. Maybe you can get the rest of the trilogy. There's even, I'm pretty sure there's Code Veronica, at least in PS4. PS5, oh man, we're getting the remake. Hopefully they don't botch that one. So yeah, big ups. Check it out if you have the money. Emulate it if you don't. And yeah, had my time, and I can't wait for a second one. Peace out.